Okay, so let's now get to know you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about Ankur Garg. Who is Ankur Garg, and what gets you ticked, and what was it like? Tell us about when you found out that you were this entrepreneur.
To be honest, I mean, I'm the son of immigrant parents. I was actually born in India, came over here when I was 10 months old. When my parents realized the prince was born, they were like, we have to bring him to America. So they brought me to America, raised
It's
me
like
here.
Coming to America, the
Yeah,
movie,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So I was raised here, and I mean, with blue collar immigrant parents that are, working the 9 to 5 job every single day, and the American dream being pitched to you through 90s and 80s television and movies. I mean, you just always want more. So I think the hustle was born, or was always there in me really young. I mean, I started my first business at the age of 11, and I just grew those businesses. I mean, I've had so many failures in the
What
different
was that
startups.
business?
So pretty much, I figured out how the paper route worked, and I created a logistical outlet for me to control the entire paper route for my county. And I pretty much had all my friends in different sports teams running the paper routes, and then I was getting a cut from everyone's route because none of them knew how to deal with the newspaper company, but I did, because I just read the agreements and I figured out how it worked. And the newspaper was ecstatic to only have to deal with one person rather than having to deal with 100 different paper boys. And so, I would have meetings with with all the paper boys. They would all
You
come
were
to my
11
house.
years old. You were 11
Yeah,
years old when you did it. So how is what I'm curious about is here you are 11 years old. Your parents are not in business, right?
right.
So where did this come from for you to come
I
up
mean,
with
I
this
gotta
idea?
blame 90s television, right? Zach Morris on Saved by the Bell, teaching you how to get away with everything, right? Whenever Zach Morris wanted something, he just figured out a way how to manipulate the people in authority, like the principal, Mr. Belding, his friends, whatever you have to do. Same thing happened in Family Matters with Steve Urkel and Laura Winslow. I think there's this one famous episode where Laura Winslow has to convince her father to get a prom dress. So she brings back 3 dresses with her mom and her aunt. One dress is the really expensive dress. One dress is a really raggedy, cheap dress. And then this dress she really wants. But she obviously tells her father she wants the expensive dress. And so the father, being a cheapskate, was like, oh, we're going to get you the cheap dress. And the mother was like, if you do that, you're sleeping on the couch for like a whole month. He's like, fine, we can get the middle dress. I'm sorry, honey, you can't have the expensive dress. The father walks away, and the girls all start laughing, like that's the dress they wanted anyway. They just knew that they had to show the father a more expensive dress just to get him convinced. And so, I mean, watching television that showed you this art of persuasion at such a young age, I think it just permeated into my brain. And I've just been that guy my whole life.
So it's the art of persuasion is what
Yeah.
attracted you to doing business.
Yeah. And money. Money's always nice.
How is that? Because I know that, America is a capitalist country. I mean, you practically 10 months old, you were even, so you are American. So that is your culture. So being a capitalist society, money is a big deal. Not so, but your parents were born here. So I'm assuming they brought you up with the traditional Indian cultures, right? Not completely absent in your life.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted me to be a doctor, engineer, computer programmer.
But how about money? How in that, because you are at home, you are a kid, right? Parents, whatever parents say, that's what you do. So how is this interest in money and persuasion? How did that fit into what your parents were trying to teach you?
Yeah, so I think immigrant parents of my generation all had a key characteristic, and that was the ability to save money and not spend the money that they had access to. Meaning, like, my dad got a paycheck, a third went into savings, a third went into immediate expenses, and a third went into lifestyle. And by having that type of discipline, I mean, I was able to be a kid who was growing up in this country of opportunity, being like, hey, well, can't you buy me this or can't you buy me that? And they're like, well, no, we can't, because we need to put in our savings account for a rainy day or for the expansion of our family or to buy houses or so on and so forth. So as a kid, you're like, okay, cool. Well, if you're not going to buy me the new Nintendo or the Sega Genesis or whatever, then I'm going to have to figure out how to get it on my own. And you figure that out pretty quick by looking at, like I said, television and movies and seeing the different hustles that people do. And when you find one that works and you realize you're good at it, you're like, oh, let me do it again. And then again and again. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is actually a business. Maybe I should go talk to one of my uncles or one of my school teachers about helping me create an LLC. Then you go create an LLC. You then talk to your parents, like, hey, I need a bank account. They're like, why do you need a bank account? I'm like, well, look, here's $1,000. Like, where the hell did you get this $1,000 from? You know, they're worried that you're like selling drugs or do something illegal. But when you explain you're not doing anything illegal, you're just working the system. And, you know, at that point, they're like, all right, go for it. Go nuts. As long as you're not doing anything illegal, doing anything wrong, we'll support it.